This episode is brought to you by the spring cleaning champions, Manscaped. This season, make sure to groom your carpets and the drapes with the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Clear out that winter bush with Manscaped's Lawnmower 5.0 and watch your confidence bloom like the springtime flowers. Embrace the season and join the 10 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our special offer. Go to manscaped.com, use the code SHOW20 for 20% off plus free shipping. After using Manscaped, I can finally say I have caught the spring fever. Introducing the season's champ, the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Their 5th generation trimmer features 2 interchangeable next-gen skin-safe blade heads, a standard one for taking a little off the top, and a new foil blade to go smooth wherever your heart desires. It also features dual LED spotlights to guide you through the darkest winter debris. Navigate with confidence in your delicate areas. Hate making a mess? Not to worry. This bad boy is waterproof. Shave in the shower, in the bath, in the ocean, anywhere you get wet. I love this thing because it comes with a compact case, and I take mine with me wherever I go. Spring cleaning doesn't just apply to the nether regions. Get the full grooming experience with Manscaped's signature Beard Hedger Pro Kit and Handyman Electric Face Shaver. Whether you're looking to craft your signature look or clean up that neckline, these are always the right tools for the job. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code SHOW20 at manscaped.com. Nothing like a little spring cleaning in your pants. Hello everyone and welcome to the FM show. I am your host Tony Jameson, and joining me as always is the tactical mastermind, the one and only Arron Falloon, aka RDF Tactics. Arron, how are you, my man? Are you well?
Yeah, I'm the fashion guru today, aren't I? Fashion guru.
You're looking fresh, right? Like, I love it. I love it. You're like you're. Is it because you drip? Is that what they call it? Drip.
Yeah, they
that's
call
awesome,
it the drip,
right? You got that. That's
I'm
like
sweating.
This lovely sort of like you got this lovely like jacket on, like really nice hat. But what you have got for the audio listeners, you can't see this, but for the YouTube viewers, you can. You got your microphone balanced on top of some books, so you take.
Oh wow, you caught that as well. My last 2 videos, people have been noticing it and been speaking about it. And the worst thing is, I do actually have a I do actually have one of those mic thingamajiggies, but you still have to buy those little connectors, and those connectors are pricey. I'm thinking I am not paying that much for a piece of metal when I could just have my microphone on top of books. That's
exactly.
mental.
And it shows that you're well read as well. So shout out to Michael Cox for zonal marking, which is a brilliant read, by the way. You should definitely get that.
Oh, absolutely.
So speaking of latest videos and records, Arron, what have you been smashing out this week?
Oh, some new tactics, of course. We've got Sebastian Hunes, so the manager of Stuttgart. His videos, I've done his tactics out. It's a 4-4-2 as well. So it's a bit surprising as I don't really touch 4-4-2s in FM, but that one's a good tactic. The Bundesliga is very confusing because you just assume that Bayern would walk the league. But by January, they already lost about 5 games. So it was like, the points tally at the end of the season was very, very low in that, And today I actually released, so by the time you're listening to this, it'll be a week old. But I released another 4-3-3 as well, which is based on Slot's Feyenoord, but I didn't promote it like that because he's not that popular. So I played the YouTube game. The title was like, oh wow, the broken. It's not the broken 4-3-3. I can't remember what I actually named it. The Monster 4-3-3. That's it. The Monster 4-3.
Yeah.
But then the moment you click on it, it's like, it's an Onslaught tactical thing. But I just had to do that. Yeah, I would even put my face on it instead of his.
Oh man, you got to trick that algorithm somehow, haven't you?
You do,
you
do.
Right, so here's this. Isn't this great? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, that's not what I've signed up for. But
exactly that. But that was fun as well. Tested it out, Hibernian in the SPR, which is again another surprising league. another surprising one.
Well, that's what I was about to talk about, because it's going to be quite tactics heavy this episode, by the way. So strap in, everyone who's maybe going like, "Oh, right, is TJ Tactics out?" TJ Tactics isn't out. RDF Tactics is out, right? It is going to be quite a tactics heavy episode, but I think that where we are at the minute, and this was really interesting, right? Because last weekend, so at the time of recording, last weekend, I went to see York City with a friend of mine. Said, "Oh, let's go and have a little watch." And the game, they're kind of in a bit of relegation battle. And obviously, by the time this video comes out, I'll have been to the last home game of the season, and they may well have been relegated. So, commiserations to York if you have been relegated. Or, hey, what a fantastic way to avoid relegation. Go Minster men, right? So I went to have a watch of that, and they've changed manager recently. And my mate, who he says, "Oh, I want you to come." Because get this, right? Quote, like proper quotes here. He went, "Oh, you're a bit tactical. You'll know what's going on." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm the tactical one." What world do we live in where I'm where I'm RDF Tactics?
How did you get on in that game?
They lost.
Thing
is that I called it within a few minutes, right? So basically they were playing Eastleigh, and York had won 3 on the last 4, I think, and maybe drawn 1. So they were on a bit of good run, and they were looking to play more expansive football. They've brought a new manager in who's known for playing attacking football. And you've just got to try and play your way out of this relegation battle now. Like, you got 5 games, 7 games to save yourselves. Go for it. Like, now's the time. Handbrakes off. Just go for it.
Yeah.
And it's been successful. They beat Chesterfield, who won the league. They won away at, I think, and someone's going to correct me and say, if I say Boreham Wood, and it might not be. Like, that's happened. They went to Halifax, was a draw there. But yeah, they've been on decent form, right? And what was happening, I'd said from about the first, but before it even kicked off, I said, Eastleigh are just going to sit back for 20 minutes. Let York go at them, because they've got to, because it's like a pretty full crowd.
Yeah.
They've got to just go for it. York's got to have a go, try and get a goal in the first 20 minutes. Eastleigh soak up the pressure and then slowly start to see the gaps, and then you'll start to see their shape change a little bit. They had one up top, Eastleigh, and he's a big lad. And then the guy who's playing number 10 is a big lad. Like, I think the number 9 is the top scorer in the league, maybe, or like up there. And the number 10's fairly decent, and the massive centre half as well. And York did exactly that. They huffed and puffed for 20 minutes, and then Eastleigh just slowly started moving forward into like a 4-5-1, into like a 4-4-2, and then into like, you could see that they were getting like there's little spaces on the overlap and stuff. And I was like, this is just, you can see what's going to happen here. And my mate's like, no, it'll be fine. I was like, no, because now they've got 2 strikers. They're going to move there, and then there's going to be someone just dot into the space, and then 2 minutes later, exact thing happens, and I'm like, I sound like I know what I'm on about here. And then York get a man sent off, and of course all the crowd go wild, because it's like, oh, what's been red card for? And it's an actual proper red card. So he does that. Then York concede, and I'd called the exact moment. I says they will concede in the 83rd minute, right? And they conceded a goal in the 83rd minute. And I was like,
no way.
I should have got this. And then York get a second man sent off, and it was just carnage at that point. I was like,
they just lost heads now. Yeah,
we're in non-league, and this is going to be great. So I was actual real life TJ Tactics for a minute, and
nice.
And I'll be honest, it felt weird. So I'm not entirely sure how that transpires. So fair play to you, though, for putting all this work together and getting some amazing YouTube content out. Talk to me about taking these high-ranking managers then with playing styles and philosophies. We'll talk sloth. Taking that from the Eredivisie, putting it into the SPL. How do you sort of approach that process?
Well, sort of. My videos are a bit confusing. I think sometimes, and I think I even released a community message on YouTube, and like, listen, people, if some of you are going to complain about me giving you 7 different variations, then I might as well not do it, because it's actually fairly time consuming as well. Because so basically, in the video, I'm trying to educate you on whatever manager I'm speaking on. Then we move into Football Manager, and then it's like, hey, this is the tactic with this team. But then I've got like 7 different versions. And I think this is where the point people start to lose maybe a bit of focus, because they've come for, I don't know, maybe that one tactic, or that one tactic that's got the the meta, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But then now you've got to think, because now there's 7 different tactics. And it's sort of the thing that we're trying to push. And we mentioned that about with Daljit as well. It's like Football Manager slightly moving away from plug and play tactics. And not that it's a bad thing. It's just like you just got to adapt to different situations. And there will be a tactic, of course, there will be a tactic that just suits your team perfectly. And you might not even have to change for home and away. You could just literally, but it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that everywhere you go. And I try and show that. I do that on my own little bonus content as well, that I try and show that, look, in games, I have to move my defense line up and down. I have to change a winger from inside forward to a winger, whatever it is. It might just be like one slight tweak in the game. But those people can see it live where, now he's just shifted the momentum and this is how I get the results. It's not just, I have this tactic that I'm showing you and I've literally just played that for 38 games. Like I'm trying to win games here. You know what I mean? I'm trying to enjoy myself as well playing Football Manager. But that's what, like, going back to your question. So with that onslaught thing, I've made slight tweaks for when I go to the Scotland League. And I even mentioned in the videos, like even the possession numbers, they're just completely different. Like it could be at Feyenoord, we was like 4th or 5th with the average possession. With Hibernian, we're like 2nd with like 68% or whatever it is. So it's just different. Like even the leagues are just different. I noticed that even in Scotland, just removing counter-attack just made us get exploited less. There was less room for us to get exploited, whereas in Netherlands, counter-attack just seemed like it was the way to go. Like they couldn't deal with the counter-attack. So that's, basically, that's what it is. And I try and tell people, just pick the one that suits your team the most.
And that's the thing, like, here's where I get a bit frustrated with it. This has been a thing for years. Like, this has been a thing for years. As I have been saying, like, every league should feel different. Like, and you go and you manage in Italy, for example, that feels different to managing in the Premier League. That Premier League feels different to managing in the Championship, feels different to managing in the Bundesliga, in League One. Like, you should be able to spot a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And you're right. Those little things, like having counterattack on, for example, you know that the way that the tactic is set up, sometimes you don't need to have it switched on. Those players will just move automatically.
Exactly. Yeah.
But there's other moments where you need to be able to really ramp it up and, like, we are going to second the ball's at someone's feet. They are head up. Where's the next pass? Like, we're going for it. And you do have to play to play what's in front of you, essentially. And it will be, and this is maybe where there's sort of some evolution, possibly, I think, with regards to how FM tactics can work. That you're right, it's not so much plug and play. That plug and play is still a thing and will still work for most people, but it's not as all conquering and invincible as it used to be.
And I think that's what people's looking for. They're just looking for that thing where they don't have to make changes. And there's always going to be there's always going to be tactics. There's, like, most tactics that are downloadable. And I think as well, our expectations of just being blown out of that's just out of proportion because of previously. So now, if I pick Brentford, overachieving isn't finishing 8th or 7th. That is overachieving, but we're so programmed and so tuned to first, second, or third. That's what I mean. That's what it has been. Yeah. So, and again, that's what people don't really grasp as well. Is that actually overachieving? Just finishing above what's expected of you. So any tactic that you've created and you can finish above what's expected of you, that's a good tactic there, and you can build from that as well.
Oh, 100%. Like, you got to look. And again, that maybe speaks differently to how people play the game differently.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going to give you an example right now that sort of talks to that. Okay. And we'll talk for Greece, but then we'll come back to your videos in a bit more. Right now, last time I think we left it, I had my end of season crumble, like at the end of season 10, and I was like really sad, and I'd obviously missed out on all these things that, like, you know, the cup final, Europe, and then of course like the actual qualifying for Europe itself. We started to do the Moneyball approach with regards to recruitment. Pre-season looked very good, as it always does. And then we had start of the season, we played Olympiacos. We lost 2-0. We played pretty well. You know, I'll take a 2-0 defeat there.
Yeah.
I would have preferred not to have done it, but fine. Okay, we had a decent performance. Then we drew 2-2 with Kefisher. We had to come back from 2-0 down, which was a bit worrying. Like, and Kefisher aren't excellent. So I was like, oh, that's a bit of a weird one. And then we played AEK. So it's quite a tough start to the season. Lost 2-1. Again, we pulled ourselves back into it. We were 2-0 down, got ourselves a goal back, and it was like, right, we didn't quite have enough to sort of get over the line. And I was like, right, okay, this is a bit. I don't want to say panic stations because you're 3 games in. Okay, but in the league, we've got 1 point. Like, you know, and I know you can look at context. We've played 2 of the teams who are probably going to be 1 and 2 in the league. We've got no points from them, but we've got 1 point from a team that we're expected to be way out from. So I'm like, right, we have a decision to make. We either stick with what's worked or has been used, I should say, sorry, for the past year or whatever.
Yeah.
This current setup on 4-3-3, or we try and tweak it now. Because as we keep saying every single week, my squad's different than it was last year. I've got different players in the squad. So there's those same roles might not be the same roles for the same players. So my chat are like sort of banging on at me. Chat like try the Celtic tactic from last year. Try the Celtic tactic from last year. Like, I'm like, well, I don't really want to try the Celtic tactic from last year. It was 3 at the back. It's 5 in midfield. Well, I mean, it's a 3-4-3 really. Okay, but it plays like a 3-2-5. And I was like, we've got 3 centre backs. We have, but we've got a really good wing back who's a right side wing back that I don't want to lose. He's 6'5". He's a wing back on attack. He gets up and he supports Kaki. Okay, so I'm like, right, we can't lose that. Left back, we're probably a little bit weaker, and we haven't really recruited a really good out and out left winger. Yeah. So we're probably weaker on that side. So I get the thinking behind it. But I'm like, I don't really want to sacrifice this. But you know what? I think, like, right, we'll roll the dice. We'll try it. Okay. We'll give you what you want to know. Okay. So we put the 3-4-3 in. We played 45 minutes with it against, I don't know, some side who like probably just been promoted or something. And the first half we're 3-1 down. Okay. And we are being played off the pitch, right? 3-1 down. And I'm losing my mind here. I'm like, right, you know what? I told you it wouldn't work, okay? But I've tried it just for you, and it doesn't work, okay? So at half time, I'm going in there and I'm changing it. Okay? So we go back in. I go back to my 4-3-3, and I tweak a few things. I take off control possession. I go counter-attack. I go cautious. Even at 3-1 down, I'm going cautious. I'm going direct counter-attack. Sorry, fluid counter-attack. I've got a complete forward in there rather than an advanced forward. I've got Kaki, of course, is cutting in from the left, and I've got just an all-winger on support outside. I've got a wing back on defend, who's sort of like just hanging back rather than trying to get forward and being exploited. And then I've got a defender who's set on cover rather than 2 centre-backs stood side by side. We win the game 5-3.
Jeez.
And I'm like, TJ Tactics has arrived. Ring the bell, everyone. We fixed it. And then what happens is we win 9 games in a row. I know.
Christ. Oh, my God.
But the interesting bit about that, okay, is not the fact that we've won 9 games in a row with that change of 4-3-3, right? And playing counter-attack, because nobody likes counter-attack, apparently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, we should be getting this to work. What I noticed was after about 4 or 5 games, we weren't necessarily having to sit back as much. So I was like, we're going to have to do something then. We can't just sit and wait for teams to come at us if they're not going to come.
Yeah.
So I was changing the tactic in-game and changing it from a 4-3-3 to a 4-2-4, control possession, just moving players around, like moving my anchor into the centre of midfield, moving Joe Bellingham up to deep lying forward.
Oh.
It works. It works. Job can play as DLF.
Nice. Oh, my God. I was just laughing at the 4-5 game thing though, because that happened. Obviously, I make tactics a lot, so there's always like I get this just buzz at like the first 4-5 games, and oh my god, I've discovered something. And then it's like you have one off game, you're like, oh, maybe it's just an off game, and it's like the next game comes, you're like, why am I getting battered?
but this is what you notice though when you physically play the games, because there was matches where like I forget who it was. We'd taken the lead after 10 minutes. Then we got a man sent off after half an hour.
Oh.
And then, so we're going at half-time 1-0 up. We then concede 2 goals, like 47 and 60 minutes or something. And I'm like, well, we need to do something about this. So I'm tweaking it on the fly and getting to a point where we played a 3-2-5, and it was 100% a 3-2-5 with 3 centre backs, 2 midfielders, and then like the 3 and the 2. No, a 3 at the top and 2 beneath it, and we won 3-2. So like I properly ground that match out. But I've really enjoyed being able to react in a different manner okay, this player's coming on, this player's doing this. This is how we're going to work it, and just staying calm, Arron, while I'm doing it. I'm like, Season 11 suits me well.
Nah, okay? I wasn't calm a few days ago with the onslaught tactic, because so Stinger actually it happens similar happened to Stinger, but I was Feyenoord, and then like we got through to the Champions League group stage, so we're out of that, and it's like, well, that's again overachieved. So I'm like, like I put that to the side. That the tactic works. We've done well in the Champions League. We've done the job. I'm just gonna focus on the Eredivisie. And then it's like, I can't remember who the next round was. It was like PSG. So I'm like, I'm out anyway. Then the first leg was at their ground. And it ended 3-2 to them. So I'm like, oh. Because football manager does love the second leg swing form. And then it was like, in the 10 minutes, 1-0 Feyenoord, then 2-0 Feyenoord, then 3-0. I was going mental in my room just by myself. Second half started, then Mbappe scored, and then Mbappe scored. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get sweaty, but we got through. And then we had Seville, which we got through again. And then it's now Feyenoord and RB Salzburg in the Champions League semi-final. I'm just like, what? So I'm like, I'm certainly going through. So I've pressed record on OBS for the bonus content. I'm like, yes, I'm going to show the people behind the scenes. First leg, 3-1. I'm like, oh, this is just too good. Go to Austria. This just ended 4-0 to Salzburg. I was fuming like for so many reasons. I'm just like, first of all, why Salzburg here in the first place? Second of all, how are they playing? It was horrible though. It was like, you know, when it's like the first 10 minutes, you're like, yeah, this is gonna be a long one, because it was just a highlight after that, and it was horrible. I was trying to make changes, and it was like nothing stopping this momentum. It was just Salzburg. Then it got to 3-0, and I was like, nah, they're just taking the piss now. Just stop now. Just stop it. And it just got 4-0. I was like, yeah, only commentary now.
There's some matches though in it where you know it doesn't matter what you do.
Oh, it was horrible.
It's just coming. It was just
coming. And I can see it though, like it was just a corner. A corner, for example, we'll head it out, fall straight to them. And then they'll cross it in, head it out, fall straight to them. We'll clear it past the halfway line. It goes straight back to us. And this is like, yeah, the game it was horrible. It was horrible. But I was just like, what the odds? First season, I think it's like Manchester United and Salzburg in the final in the first season. I was just like, that's mental. But yeah, that's what happened.
I guess as a neutral, you'd take that as a final. It'd be quite interesting enough to see. But I mean, we'd rather have you there, Arron, personally. You know what I mean? Like,
even the semi-final. The semi-final was fire, man. It's just like now I was so confident. I had it recorded. I'm like, yes, everyone's going to see me go to the final. And
again, though, that's the creator's curse, isn't it? Like, because I know. And again, this is like a little peek behind the curtain for the audience. Like, but when you make YouTube content, particularly for like a Let's Play, I suppose, really, and this is part of the reason I'm not particularly prolific with this sort of content, and why I struggle to produce it really is because I never know what match to play for the viewers. Like, this is why I think I'm better streaming than I am YouTubing.
I'm the same.
I never know what match people want to see, so I always presume it's going to be pick one of the bigger games in the league. That'll be the one that'll get the views. But that's probably the one you're going to lose, which is fine given how I played my character of Football Manager can take a loss. That's not a problem. But you've also got to be able to then know that at some point you've got to win on camera. Otherwise, people are going to stop watching. Look, he loses everything. Because then if you lose like 3 videos in a row, right?
Yeah.
And then you go, all right, so hey, just a quick roundup of where we're at so far in the season. And it's win, win, draw, draw, win, win, win. They're like going, hang on. But you lose all the time on camera. Something's not right.
Yeah.
You lose that authenticity. You've got to win at some point. But you can't predict it, can you?
Yeah, no. This is why I'm enjoying the bonus content. It's literally just me recording. So I've got this Everton thing. I'm saving Everton from relegation. And it's even then, but on screen I was winning. So on YouTube, it was like I played the first 3 games winning. Then off camera, it was like win-win. And then it was like a loss to Sheffield United. I'm like, again, it's like out of all teams, Sheffield United. But obviously it's important because they're in the relegation. So I'm like, but you that maybe that's what they would have wanted to see. But even on page, I was like, I'm not leaving this on a loss.
We can't allow it. Like apparently we're meant to know how to play this game. That's the thing. Like,
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's difficult, man. But even there's sometimes there is tactics where I try, I'm in like League 1, League 2, and you finish like 5th or whatever, and it's like, it's interesting, but you can't package that for people to click on it.
I think that's the issue, isn't it? Because you've said it a bit earlier on there about raising expectations, and I think the audience's expectations of these tactics, as we've said, is because in the past we've had this tactic will get you from non-league to Champions League.
Yeah.
You will not have to change it. The game will just allow you to do. If you put 11 players on the pitch, it doesn't really matter which 11 players, so long as they fit in these roles, you will win. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Whereas now, and hopefully going forward, it's not going to be plug and play. It's going to be, look, plug, but
you've got to play.
This tactic will only get you so far. Like, it will get you good enough results. Like, you could plug most tactics into Liverpool, Man City. And
yeah.
Like, Arsenal is a tricky one. Not all tactics will work with Arsenal. Not all tactics will work with Villa, with Tottenham, Man United.
Tottenham, especially Tottenham's like one of the tricky ones where I'm like, when it goes tactic test, I'm like, okay, let me go with Tottenham because they are a tricky team where they got like very specific players, and you can't really move out of that comfort zone. And
then you get to what do you want out of the tactic then? And you say then a tactic that works for Tottenham and Villa is a tactic that gets you into the Champions League. It wins you a cup. Like that is the tactic works at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
You then kick on with your recruitment, and then you use that tactic as a base to elevate it next season. Go, right, what did I learn from that tactic?
Yeah.
How does it play? How do I go to the next level? How do I become Arsenal, Man City? Like, how do I get into that elite Liverpool? Like, how do I get to that elite level? And I think that's how you break the tactics down now. Elite level tactic.
I was going to say
high level tactic.
I would even find now, especially, I think that plug and play content, like, you're going to get plug and play content as well. Like, you're not just going to get plug and play tactic. The content is sort of plug and play. You're just going to get, this is the tactic, this is the instructions, these are the results. That's like literally, but I think as a creator, I used to do that. Like, I had no problems with doing that before. Obviously, getting used to and finding myself doing it. Once I'm here now, it's just like, I would feel like I'm cheating, basically just doing it. Because I know I can just do a video just for the sake of it. But if I'm not giving you any sort of information, then I just find it pretty much pointless. Just my opinion.
Well, it's as we say, isn't it? Like we've said before, when you create something, and whether it's Football Manager videos, whether it's podcasts, whether it's
I take that back, because there is definitely an audience for it. So like I take that, because there's always going to be an audience for it, and obviously I'm not even taking away the fact that there's going to be people that can only or will only play 2 hours or 3 hours in the evening. So they're going to need a tactic that's going to hold them that they can at least win and be happy and just play the game.
Yeah.
And then they might not have the 30 minutes to sit down and listen to me talking about overloading and doing this, because that might take some time and care as well.
But there's levels to everything, isn't there?
Yeah,
Like, you know, you've got, like, you know, we've joked, right? You're sat there, you got zonal marking on your desk. Right? You read that's high level knowledge for some
the other
people.
one's
like,
inverting the pyramid.
And what, mate, like the absolute it's on the back there as well. It's a great book, right? I've got that as well.
Brilliant, yeah.
Like but these are books that you go to when you want a bit more. Like, and you're a creator that people go to when they want a bit more. Like, you can go to pick up a video that says, right, this tactic will do X, Y, and Z, and it'll work, bang. And if that's what you're after, great. Like, same in the supermarket, you can just pick up a sandwich and there's your lunch. Like,
yeah.
But some people will go and look for the ingredients to make their lunch.
Exactly,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
exactly,
and then there'll be some people who will go, right, I want to understand what's in my lunch as well.
Yeah.
And that's the next level. Like, so
because I did do a plug and play tactic last year. I think it was with Brighton, and it was like, because it was a tactic that I was using on stream, and it was everyone's asking for it. So I'm just like, boom, like it could be actually decent content. I'll be like, hey, this is what I created on stream. You can come over and stream and watch it, but this is literally the tactic in a download file. But it sort of created a problem for me, because down in the comments it's like, well, I can't use this. Oh yeah, great at home, away, but this, but that, and I'm like, I can't. Now it's not in the video. I would have explained it in the video in my normal way, but because this is a plug and play, you just got to plug in and just go with it, sort of thing.
I always think as well, there's two ways of making stuff, and whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's podcasts, whether it's whatever. I think you can be an educator or you can be an entertainer. And I think that there's two ways of it. Obviously, there's few people who can do both, and they do really well. You're one of those people, by the way, who can do both. I can only do one, and it ain't educate. Let's be honest. like my depth of knowledge is nowhere near yours. I can explain what I'm doing, but I can't explain it to the degree that you can. So my tactical video would be very much like, okay, here's where we are, and it will be for a certain level of understanding, whereas you can go, well, actually, what Tony really means is if he wants to do X, Y, and Z, he can do this, or if this happens, then he can do this. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I was trying to say, but like, you know,
but that's what I mean, though. But like, even in video, so like, even like video format, like I was the same. If you watch it, like me, like back my first videos, it was that sort of way, and then like after each video, sort of, as you say, like you should improve and just learn. Like I wouldn't say I go back and watch all my videos but back then it was a new thing. I was excited. So the moment something gets uploaded, I'm watching it back. I'm like, oh, everyone's got to love this video, man. This is amazing. So that was sort of me back in the day. But then I started to find out different things. You should learn. Like when I'm researching as well, especially. So when I was first doing tactical analyst thing, it wasn't mine. I was reading from the Total Football thing.
Yeah.
And then I just, again, there, you start learning and picking up language and stuff like that. So, like, I've never been to college, university. I've never studied any of this sort of thing. It's just, like, literally all self-taught, and then through the videos and stuff like that, that's when it started going into the real world and stuff like that. And I'm like, hey. But then it's weird because when you go into the real world, like, my methods is also appreciated, where it's not obviously learned from a book or whatever it is. It's just literally just all self-taught. It's all self-taught, but it's through videos, though. It's all through videos. And if you want to get to a certain place, I just believe you can get to it if you really want to.
I think it's about application, isn't it? It's the tools and the information are the same, really. Like, you know, you're analyzing a tactic and how it works, and you're analyzing how a team plays, and you're picking up the positives and the negatives, and you're also being aware of how the opposition play, and you can then pull that back a little bit more to go, well, this is what the league plays like as a whole, how certain players react, and then you go, right, well, I wonder how you do that on Football Manager. So you're then taking that raw information and going, can it work in this computer game? And you're going, hey, it can. Like, and there's going to be people going, oh, I wonder how you do that. And you're going, I've worked it out. Like, you do X, Y, do this, and this. And it's brilliant, like, because
it's how I learned the roles as well, like how the typical things about roles and stuff like that, and why I pick certain roles, and because that's also like another frustrating thing. Is like when you're trying to recreate something, is that everyone's already got a picture on, like they think that a player has a label on them, like they think. So let's say Arteta just, hey, Erdegaard, Mazzala today, yeah, cheers, sort of thing. So that when it goes into full manager, it's like, no, you've got to use him as a Mazzala, but it's like, no, I could use him as a central midfielder on attack because this is how he behaves in the match engine, which is going to be different to how it is in real life. You can see him as a playmaker in real life, but I don't necessarily have to use the playmaking role. I can still get him to receive the ball a lot, get him to take key passes. Using this role, I don't have to use the playmaker role, which I think people now, they've relaxed from that now. It's totally different now, as I think they've started to learn, I can just use a target for, I can just use a full stand sort of thing. Yeah. They don't have to use, because everyone, like, now a lot of more experimenting with striker roles. I know 2 years ago, 3 years ago, advanced forward. What? There's other striker roles? Nah, advanced forward, advanced. Now it's like, oh, I love how the poacher, I love how the DLF moves. Is like, it's always moved like that. But
But there's also as well, though, there's been ways that it's been tweaking, and the players around it. I think the roles have always played like that, but I don't think the combination of the players' attributes have tied in with it as well. So I used to love, like, so if we go back a couple of years, I would try and do a 4-2-4, obviously. 4-4-2, obviously. If I wanted to have like a target forward and a poacher, in my head, how that would play wouldn't be replicated in the match engine because the players' attributes weren't weighted sufficiently. Like, so my understanding of a poacher was like a fox in the box, kind of like 6-yarder, 6-yard box, like ball drops down, bang, I'm scoring that. Rebounds, bang, I'm scoring that. Whereas now, a poacher's off the ball is really important. Because it's the awareness to create space, which wouldn't have been as prevalent a couple of years ago. So you would have seen, I'm using poacher. Why is Jermaine Defoe not scoring as many goals as I want him to? Because he needs off the ball, but the match engine isn't picking up that he needs off the ball. Whereas now he's picking up that he needs off the ball. So if Jermaine Defoe, I guess I'm using that as an example, if he was in this modern match engine, he'd be getting as many goals as Jermaine Defoe scores because he's got everything he needs to be a poacher. A target forward now has anticipation, which is therefore part of the role now. Again, there's a bit of movement, composure, decision making, when to hold the ball up, when to lay it off, rather than just he can jump. Like,
I think all roles are now working better in combination. Whereas before, I think there will always be certain roles that are just working how it's supposed to work, but because other roles aren't, maybe, then that one can be like very effective. So like, you remember when Mazzala first come out, the Mazzala on attack, the inverted wing back on attack, especially the inverted wing back on attack. When these roles first come out, it was like, right, the inverted wing back is literally doing what he's supposed to be doing, but because it's so exact, so precise, and other roles aren't,
everything else in front of it is
wrong. So it was just like, right, he can just exploit this space because the other roles aren't connecting that they're supposed to close off that space. So all the time, he's just going to exploit it.
And I think that's where we've got to with these tactics videos then, where people are looking now for the ultimate tactic. And it's not the ultimate tactic because the match engine and the numbers behind it are now more accurate. So they are the roles always played the same, or should have always played the same. But as you say, something was out. So that tactic, if you put your tactic now into the previous match engine, it would be just as successful as it is now because the balance isn't there. I think I've convoluted that. Actually, I made an absolute mash of that. Sorry.
No, but
I've gone from making sense to being like, I think he's lost it.
I think everyone will understand what you're getting at anyway. But
quick question, just while this episode's on, have you subscribed to the FM show, either on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts from if you're listening on audio feed? If you haven't, can we ask a little favor? Maybe you might want to consider doing that. You might want to help us out. If you do want to help us out, please hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to us. Of course, if you leave a like on the video, if you've enjoyed it, leave a comment below. Obviously, it's the same on audio platforms as well. Little comments, little 5-star reviews and that, they really mean a lot to us, and it helps boost the show, and it means that people are enjoying it and it becomes more visible. Obviously, you can do that via social media as well. You can follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, however you want to do that, or come and join the Discord. The Discord is a great place to hang out. You meet like-minded individuals from the community. You get direct access to myself, producer Steve, RDF Tactics. What more can you say? I mean, that seems totally fair. It costs nothing, and it really helps the show out. So hopefully, that's the sort of thing you might consider. If you do want to give us a little bit of love, come and support us. Come and subscribe to the show, because you know what? We enjoy it, and we like you. So you know what? Back to the episode. Well, I'll tell you what we'll talk about, okay, before we go into the next bit. Obviously, TJ's trying to fix Greece, and I've fixed me losing streak of 2 games in 3. 9 wins on the bounce, I said. A draw on match day 10. Jameson out, everyone was shouting. Bottle job incoming. Not so much, though, because got myself a little promotion, Arron. Build a nation. Yeah. I've gone from Greece under-21 manager to Greece national team manager, following the retirement of former Scotland manager Steve Clarke, who was in charge of Greece.
Wow. That's mental.
So I've left the under-21s, second in the under-21 group, just behind Norway or the Netherlands, maybe. Netherlands, I think it is. And come into a nation that didn't qualify for the World Cup. So World Cup qualification is over. We've got some friendlies to play. Then we're going to start working towards Euro qualification. So that's fun. Greece national manager on the CV. January transfer window's opened at time of recording. This is where we are. I mentioned in the last episode that Greece is now up to 6th in the coefficients in Europe. So we are building that nation. Okay. I'm obviously not in Europe this season. Bit of a shame. But I had that revelation that I can build a nation without me even winning. So it's all fine. Greece has been given 3 Champions League spots, which we said. So we are doing well now, right? So all 6 teams in the top 6 will play in Europe next year. So this was a question that we were going to answer today, but I think it's going to be another episode. And it's, how do you prioritize tournaments, and what do you prioritize? And it links a little bit with this overachieving as well, I think, because for a club like Larissa, even though we finish in Europe all the time, our board still want us to finish in the top half. Okay, and it's like, all right, fine, we're going to overachieve every season. That's great for me. Right? But do the fans want to see a cup? Like, are the fans happy with us just getting into the top 6 and then getting spanked in those last 10 games and then finishing 5th? They don't want that, do they? But we're deep in Europe. We're deep in the cup competition, and we just falter, and it comes to something. But I'm in this, so because I'm not in Europe, right? My squad are fitter, more lively, rotated better, so everyone's fresh when they're coming in.
Yeah.
Again, it's working a bit nicer in terms of results. January transfer window's open. Usually a time when players start to get upset because new players have come in, can't get registered for Europe. Players who haven't registered for Europe are still upset, and then we get re-registered and we can't because we brought better players in. What January has led to this year, however, Arron, because, hey, I'm not going to have a season without problems, right? That'd be stupid. January brought me the problem that if I want to play in Europe next season, I might have to find £14 million from somewhere, because apparently that's how much I'm failing financial fair play by.
Wow.
I'm disgusted with, quite frankly.
Who's the key player? I'll be looking at my key player. I'll be like,
don't you worry.
I'm sorry, man.
But I've only spent money one season. It was 2 seasons prior, and I think this is what's come to bite me on the backside, right? So everyone who champions spread your payments over amount of times, yeah, it works in the short term, but I've always said it comes to get you eventually. And it might come to get me at the chance we might get Champions League football, because we're currently 3rd in January. and we have just had to convince Jonah Kuzi Azare that his future belongs in Qatar in January. So he's gone.
How much?
7 plus 20%.
Yes, I think I actually I saw.
Sale,
I think I saw he was offering, getting some offers. I didn't see him.
I was offering him out for 10 because he's got a £10 million buyout clause, and he was out of contract at the end of the season. So we had to sell him before January the 1st. Otherwise, he was going for free. So £7 million plus 20% of his next transfer, plus his 50 grand a week wages are off the books.
Yeah.
We've sold our left winger, Kernavadze, for about 100 grand or whatever. We're trying to sell, and we've got an Estonian player called Tauri Tam, okay? But I've referred to him as Tory Tom, like just this. I've created this sort of like middle-class Edinburgh character. Just like Tam would be like a Scottish name. He's kicking off left, right, and centre. We're trying to get rid of him. He's like, I'll go for 180 grand. And his agent's like, 90 grand for me, though, right? And I'm like, no, not 90 grand for you. So we're still £4 million shy. And one of our highly rated midfielders, who's been with us for only 3 seasons, actually, I thought he'd been here for longer, he wants to leave as well because the Middle East is looking at him. He's out of contract at the end of the season. And I'm like, I don't really want to sell you, but I might not have a choice, Arron. This might just have to happen. And also, one of the installments on the transfer is his money, so he might be the guy who has to do it. There's an irony that Kuzi Azare got us into this mess, and I've had to try and sell him to get us out of this mess.
I'm definitely 100%. Oh my days! I remember the days he was firing as well.
And he leaves us with, I think, 12 goals in 15 games this season as well. So he was doing fine, but I built the tactic with the idea that he wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
So I've got players that can come in and around him and slot in. So we'll rejig things around. What it looks like at the end of the season, Arron, next week's episode will be very, very interesting indeed. We should say as well, by the way, at time of recording, hello, latest data update patch. FM 24.4 has been released. Full list of changes are available on the Football Manager website. So go get that downloaded. That's the final patch in the current match engine before it moves to Unity, Arron. It's the end of an era.
End of an era for real. I don't know. Man. I feel a bit not flat. I don't know if that's the right word. Like it doesn't feel like, I don't know, like there's no deal about it. Like this is the final. It is out as the final data update. Final data update, but that's about it. It doesn't feel like that's it. That's quite literally it. That's the last time,
dance, isn't it?
Yeah, that's literally quite it. That's done now. We're waiting for FM25. What one for you? Oh Lord,
be fine. Don't worry. Well, get your FM 24.4s in. Okay, go and do that. And you know what? It's not all over yet, Arron. That's what we need to think about. It's not all over yet. It's just the start of another adventure. And before we say adventures, we're going to talk to our Patreons. Give a massive shout out to everyone who's joined this week. Welcome, Matthew Sales, Nick L. Chen, James, and Scott Wallach. Welcome into the Patreon squad. It's great to see so many new people, right, Arron?
Yes, it is. It is. I think, you know what? I think they've been clicking on that link, that patreon.com/the FM show pod link. They must have been clicking on that link.
Clicking it. Of course they're clicking it. They're clicking it and then they're going, hey, what, £3 a month for an extra bonus episode a week? Guaranteed tactics garages. TJ's Build a Nation save files. So he's got every single season of his save game in there and a private Discord channel. You better believe they're clicking that link.
I wish I had my little button now. The horns. Every bonus content.
We'll get some air horns.
Yeah. The wolf as well as.
We've just lost 5 patrons there now. But no, thank you so much, of course, to everyone who does, who is able to support us on Patreon. Genuinely, your support is absolutely appreciated. And of course, as always, there's always going to be the free public episode every single week. So if you can't afford to support us on Patreon, just make sure you hit the like button on the video. If you're watching on YouTube, give a subscribe on Spotify, and of course, subscribe on YouTube and leave a comment, Arron. That's what we need to do with the YouTube.
Yes.
Boost the algorithm up. Get those comments going.
Boost the algo.
And you know what? People do that. People leave lovely comments. We've got loads of comments about Llama, by the way, as well. Everyone seems to love FM Llama, the FM goat. We've got Lump Kickers Anon. Llama is amazing. Would listen to him talk about Excel for hours. Yeah, do that as well. Neil Bathgate, another great episode. Colin FM is welcome back anytime. Let's call back to obviously what he referred to himself as well. My guest Guile, possibly. These three should be the regular. Okay. So we will see. But Arron, today, instead of looking backwards, we're going to look forwards, right?
Yes.
We talked about a community challenge, and it's began, and people have got very, very involved, haven't they? People are smashing it already.
Yes, we've got. I hate having to attempt to pronounce this.
I shouldn't have given you this one, should I? Metalli Muse, long-term friend of the show.
Yeah, I know, and I was going to say Metalli Muse. I was just. You know when you say it so fast, you say it so fast, like the person doesn't even realize you mispronounced it. I just tried to fly past it.
You know, we used to like the things like that happen in comedy, right? When you don't know the act's name, you go, and please welcome to the stage a very, very good friend of mine, and it's Arron. I just hope no one knows. I did it once, and this is a friend of mine who I'd known for years, right? And I had a complete mind blank about what his surname was. I'd not seen him for a while, but his name and surname are very similar to another friend of mine whose name and surname are quite similar. And I was like, right, good friend of mine, known him for years. And I went, his name is, and I went, he just has one name, just like Pele.
So yeah, the comment in the Discord. Well, despite a 6-month transfer ban, I'm gonna have to go away from the big three as I enjoy the struggle. Added myself and gonna retire the tactic test character now, and he's chosen Boa Vista. I mean, you're a madman. Good luck. Boa nice team. So there was a football game. I can't remember. Where like Boa Vista were one of the only registered teams that you could be. And I knew about Boa Vista before many teams just because of that. I knew about their kit and everything just because of that game. I need to find that game. This
feels like a Pez thing, doesn't it? Like
yeah. I can't remember what game. It was one of those, not the elite games. It was one of those budget things, but I don't want to be disrespectful to any game developer. Calling their game budget like
where's your podcast?
Yeah, we also got a little comment as well from Chiz FM. He's gone to Braga. He's giving it a go at Braga. Good luck, Mr. Woodlock.
Bonnie Boy Blue has chosen Sporting. Obviously, one of the three teams we were suggesting you might want to consider: Sporting, Porto, Benfica. Nice to see people going off the beaten track early doors, though, Arron. I like that. And Chaser 2K6 has also gone with Sporting, finished the first season, and has managed, drumroll, to end up in, as I just need to scroll past it, I made it a bit too large, third.
Yeah, he finished
Euroleague for Sporting after season 1. They said that so many bids coming in for players, not a full rebuild, but near enough in the summer. And then one of their players is injured got injured in his first match, out for 5 months.
Wow. So yeah, he got a little bug thing because at Sporting, it gets around like November. So I've had this in the tactic test where I've actually had to restart the whole test just to make sure that I offer people contracts before that date because they all just start kicking off. But yeah, it was Marcus Edwards, Trincao, Gonçalves. They just all started nah, want to leave, want to leave. So I think that's what's happened to him, yeah. But that's that sort of thing, like, because I've obviously played through it. I know that, yeah, when I go back, I'm going to offer these guys contracts at a certain date. So, like, they don't want to leave in January. And then that just, that keeps me tied over.
There might be some people restarting their challenge now they know that information.
But Portugal's one of those sneaky leagues where, like, you're 1 minute, you're cruising, and the next minute, boom, you're half the team's wanted. And then, because obviously it's not that league that people want to stay in, unfortunately, it's just, yeah.
See, I would class that as just realism, though. That's the thing. I don't know if it's a bug.
Yeah,
I would just be like,
of
course I want to leave.
Oh, yeah, for sure, else. But in Football Manager, it's a bit of a...
Could be anything.
Like, you're all of a sudden going from winning 6-0 to, like, losing 3-2s and stuff like that. But, interestingly, Chaser 2K6 got to the European... Is that Europa?
The Europa League final, yeah.
Or was that the Conference League? I'm trying to...
I think it's the Europa League, I think.
Because it says he finished third in the Europa League. And then Tottenham aren't in Europe in the first season.
It might be Conference League. No, wait. There's some. Right, we can't confirm on the screenshot.
It's Europa League. It is Europa League. It is
Tottenham
Europa League.
Won the Europa League. I'm sure it's the Europa League. Tottenham won the Europa League. Chaser won the Portuguese Cup, by the way.
That's a
well done
event
for a trophy in
I'm sorry, but that's a sackable offense, man. Losing to Tottenham in the final. Oof. He did say, he mentioned it himself that it was a meme. He said it himself. We also got a message. I'm sorry.
You promoted yourself to chairperson. I mean, if people know they're going to get sacked in the challenge by you going, no, that's rubbish.
Oh, man. Listen to, I mean, talking about the points, right? That's taking away points. We've got to remove a point there. We also got a message from Sal. I'm doing a challenge on mobile and I'm off to a flying start with Sporting. After beating Porto 5-0 at home, I'm confident we are going to steamroll everyone this season. Don't fall for that trick. Having Yorkshire almost feels like it's cheating. Yeah, I get that on Football Manager, on the actual game as well, on PC. Sometimes he goes through and it's just like, goes through on the one-on-ones that he's not missing that. He's like, sometimes he gets in a position like he's not missing that. He's a bit of a Haaland in the Portuguese league.
I mean, he is in real life though, isn't he? Like, he's a very, very good player. I should say as well, by the way, just was it last year's game? It was last year's game, I think. Yeah. I obviously played as Sunderland early doors just to sort of get myself used to how the game played. And at the end of the season, he was available on a free transfer, wasn't he? So it was him and Callum O'Hare. And, and I looked at both of them and I was like, I wonder which one to take. And Gokaresh wanted too much money, so I ended up with Callum O'Hare rather than Gokaresh. And I was like, I mean, he's good, but he's not quite as good as he. So, we're only just now seeing, we're beginning to see how good he is. Like, I mean, he looked great last season, but he's doing fantastic in Portugal. So, more Gokaresh stories, I think.
And also, Sal does have JKA.
He does. He does, this boy. 16 years old and playing on 2D as well, which I love. I know it's mobile, but still. 16-year-old JK scoring on his debut. Love that, Sol. Excellent work. Brazilian Fury has sent us a message as well. Said that before the official challenge was announced, they had already started a save with a team in a city in a central area of Portugal of Santarém, known as União de Tomar. Now, apologies if I pronounced that terribly, but I've tried. They were in the 4th division at the start of the save. In 5 years, they've managed to climb the ranks to Liga Portugal, thanks to the efforts of some gems they have found in the free agency and loans. And in year 5, they've had a pretty incredible second half to the season and ended up being best of the rest. They finished 4th, Arron.
Oof, that's nice. That is nice. I wonder what I'm going to finish.
Well, where can we find your? We know where we can. Where can we find? Because you are going to do the challenge, right? So where can we find this?
So I've actually started mine. With Vitoria. So I'm one of the teams that I recommended in last week's episode. I've played 6 games. Everyone else has played 7, it seems like. But I've played 6 games, and we're currently sitting 3rd. We're unbeaten, and I looked at the fixture list, and I saw that we got Benfica away from home, and it's like one of those is like, Oh yeah, thank God that's early in the season. We sort of like just get that out of the way.
Yeah.
And then we managed to sneak a 1-0. I mean, we shouldn't have won the game. We shouldn't have won the game, really. They had the better the chances, but we did score a winner, grab the winner in the 80th minute from Jota Silva, one of the strikers too, by the way, complaining to leave before the season's even started. So that's the problem that I've been dealing with as well. And I'm having that little thing where we spoke about it earlier where like in the tactics, something's just not connecting. Like I can feel we're sort of dragging our feet a little bit. So at home against Casapia, a game that we sort of should be winning, given that we're a Conference League team. We won that 1-0. So it's a decent result still, but you know, we just about got through. And then Real Ave at home, 0-0, did batter them throughout the game. Their goalkeeper got man of the match. But again, it just felt like, I mean, it says that we've got expected goals of 3. It didn't feel like that. I think maybe because we took so many shots, it ended up giving us a high expected goals number. But it just felt like we was just trying to, we get to the byline, then we'll cross it or we play it back to the edge of the box and then, which is no ideas, long shot. So that's where we're at with my Victoria. I'm going to try and fix that sort of issue that I'm having. But I feel we're close, but not quite there. Or maybe it's just the player quality as well. Sometimes I have to remember. Sometimes I have to remember that my players are not going to be playing like Prime Ronaldo every single game.
That's the thing. I suppose you can be making that great chance, but if you've not got a great player to finish it, then
exactly.
It's not a great chance, then, is it? You know?
Yeah, exactly. There. So yeah, that's what. And I'm using a weird formation. So I've done a video about this formation. I've made obviously many tweaks. Actually, looking at it, so a lot of tweaks. It's that 4-2-1-3, and I mentioned about it's like one of those tactics. Now I can't imagine myself managing on Football Manager and not using it. I think it's like one of my things now. Yeah. So that's the tactic.
That's really interesting because again, that's something that we've wanted to speak about for a while. Is when you find the formation that works for you, and it leans into your philosophy. And you can
exactly.
Implement that into your club, and you do sometimes come in going. It turns out I'm always starting with a very similar formation. Like we're going to do similar stuff. So I like that. There was a formation I had in last year's game, which was a 4 at the back, and I played it at Huddersfield. I had 4 at the back, and then I had a Segundo Volante and a half back. And I had an attacking midfielder on support up top, and I had 2 like wingers outside, and it was like
that's basically you're basically just describing my midfield here, sort of.
But I had 2 wide players rather than 3 up top.
So I was going to say, so it's
a bit deeper.
But that's sort of the idea anyway. But my idea is to get them to drop from the forward line. So one's a complete forward on support, and the other's a false 9. So they're supposed to sort of drop in those areas anyway. That's the idea. And then a poacher in the middle between them just does nothing, just stay there and just wait for a chance.
Scraps,
I did try a half back in my system, but I was also moving away, from being heavy possession based because that's what the tactic was originally. But again, we just don't really have the players to keep possession in that area and not lose it. We've got a few players that their composure's on 11 and concentration's on 11. I'm like, you know what? I'm not risking it.
It makes a big difference, doesn't it? Like I think you look at those attributes, and obviously remember when you're setting this up, like you can change the colours of what is a good attribute, a medium attribute, and a bad attribute. It can help you, and it varies league to league because when you're into like a Portugal, for example, like your top quality players are probably going to be. What do you reckon about the teams that would be in the top 6 of the Premier League? Maybe like
my top player here, I can't.
And Sporting and that, but Benfica, they're not going to be Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. Players. They're going to be Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle,
West Ham,
Man United, West Ham, like
kudos.
That level in it, So you can tweak those up because you might be like, oh, I need the best player. The best player in the league. You don't need the best player, like. It's sort of thinking about that, isn't it? Okay, so if we do start talking tactics, then Arron, I'm aware of a place where you can go to test your tactics and to have a little look under the bonnet, maybe a bit of a sort of like expert opinion. Have you got your overalls and your spanner?
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm all suited and booted.
That's why you're suited and booted. Right. Tactics Garage is open for business. We've been waiting. Play the air horn. Play the air horn.
No.
And if you're new to the show and you don't know what on earth we're on about with the Tactics Garage, basically what we do is we would suggest, because people do come to us and say, look, here's a tactic, how can it be improved upon? That's only given us half the story, right? We welcome suggestions of the Tactics Garage. Send us the tactic you're currently using. Okay, give us some context around it. Say, look, this tactic isn't working. I'm conceding too many goals. I'm losing the ball in wide areas. I am not creating enough chances. Talk to us about the kind of league form you've got, what the expectations are, the players you've got in your squad. Send it in to us. Do it either via the Discord, send us screenshots and stuff and a big long essay as to what's what, or send us an email, dfmshowpod.com, dfmshowpod@gmail.com. It's my turn to get it wrong this time, Arron.
Yeah, that's why I'm laughing.
It's normally the joke where Arron gets it wrong. So dfmshowpod@gmail.com, send us the email, let us know what it is. Obviously, if you're Patreon, you get priority as to getting your tactics fixed. And I should say as well, Arron, a shout out, if you're watching this episode and you aren't already a Patreon, then you have missed, or you haven't missed, because you will of course get to see it the second you subscribe. Every Monday we have a bonus episode. This week's episode was myself and Second Yellow Card doing a watch along of Goal 3, and it is without a doubt the worst thing I've watched for an hour and a half.
That, by the way, as well, people, I'm so gutted. So imagine I woke up like, it was weird. I woke up, but I had the Champions League, so obviously it was a Tuesday. Was going to do this recording, but obviously Arsenal back in the quarterfinal for like, I don't know how many, God knows how many years. So I woke up in the morning I was nervous, but buzzing. I just couldn't wait for the evening. But then obviously the kids, I done the kids' breakfast, everything. We went out to Lidl's, and I'm like, oh yeah, the podcast. I'm gonna pick up snacks. I picked up a snack. I picked up what is it? It's like it's strawberry flavor. I'm trying cider, strawberry cider. Yeah. So I had that everything prepared, and then as the hours are going by, I'm like, oh sugar. It's at the exact same, both at 8:00 as well. Yeah. But then I was like, nah, I should do the Patreon. But as time got closer to the kickoff, I'm like I'm gonna be fuming if I miss it. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I'll be always on my phone. I'll be like, it would have been not a great viewing. Like, I would have been looking away, keep checking on my phone what the score is. To be fair, at the end of it, I wish it was a good game, but we didn't win. I was hoping for a win, and we didn't win. But yeah, I was gutted, man.
Mate, like, it would have been amazing having you on it, and we've got so many more planned. By the way, we're going to try and do one a month of watch-alongs of like football films or football TV series, docu-series stuff. So again, feel free to suggest things we want to watch. Pokes has suggested there's a Grimsby documentary, which I'm all in for that. We can do that one, but take this the right way, please, Arron. I'm glad you didn't have to sit through that for an hour and a half. I feel like you saved yourself.
The thing is, though, I am a bit of a sucker for bad films. There's something about bad films that I find good.
Oh, you'd have loved this then, man. This is like 4 bad films at once. I watched the whole thing. I'm not sure what's happening.
I'm one of those guys that just too much information is not great for me. Like when I'm watching a film, so like all these brilliant films, like even like Batman or whatever, like because there's so many battles and stuff, like my head could be gone in like 15 minutes, honestly. And I've lost this is why I don't watch things like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. Like, you need focus, like you need to watch and focus. Whereas like something like Go Free, I can imagine it's just like you don't need any like to pay any attention really on what's going on to follow the story, unless it's completely confusing and baffling.
You sign up to Patreon, watch it, and then let me know what you've watched, because what we saw, even during it, me and Second Yellow Card were going, are we watching the right film? Like, we weren't sure.
Something can't be that bad though. Goal 1 was alright.
Honestly, it is ridiculous, right? We're not going to do any more plugs for it. Go and have a watch of it. You get access to everything we've done on Patreon. These are going to come out every single month. And then, of course, there's the weekly episode as well. So you unlock all that back catalogue straight away.
Yeah.
But we're talking tactics, Arron. That's what we're talking about. Tactics Garage is open. First one that came into the Discord came from, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm afraid, Te Big B, which I'm guessing Te Big B. Been training this tactic on the 0708 database. That's the Mad Scientist database, which is incredible. If you haven't seen that, go and have a look at it. Mad Scientist, big friend of ours, he's back to the future, isn't he? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pick your favorite era of football, he's making a database on it and it's playable. So 0708, and says, any idea how to make this tactic better? It's very attacking, but wants ideas to strengthen up the defense. Now, if we explain what this tactic looks like, Arron, for the viewers, like I've even commented on this one because there's a glaring error straight away. I think we have. Okay, strap yourselves in. We have, because this is for. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry, Toddy. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you right now, but I've got it on the screen. I'm recording it on OBS.
That's okay. I'm gonna. I need to see this as well, right?
Okay. I was just thinking about the editing thing, the editing side of views.
Don't worry.
Obviously,
right.
Yeah.
Sweeper keeper on support. 2 wide centre backs. Ball playing defender, halfback, deep line playmaker, 2 wingers on attack, attacking midfielder on support in the number 10 role, advanced forward on attack, DLF on support. Arron, am I right in thinking the first thing he needs to do is address the fact he's only really got 1 defender?
I saw your comment in the Discord as well. I was like, an extra. So I was like, what do I need to add? An extra defender.
Yeah. That's the first thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's difficult because he didn't say how or why he needs to be strengthened. So we don't know if it's like a counter-attacking issue but I think for me and you though, we can probably see even in settled defensive situations, you've just got gaps. You just got gaps. And what's interesting with me as well is that I understand what you've chosen. So he's got a deep line playmaker and a halfback, which are fairly stationary roles. They're not going to go further forward. So I understand that. But that can be detrimental because the support system for your attackers, if they do lose the ball, might not necessarily be there. So for an example, you might think it's silly to add something that's fairly adventurous. So, but for an example, if you had a Secondo Volante, he could be in certain positions to then stop that counter-attack rather than... Because at the moment, what I'm seeing is 5 versus... That is 5 and 5. You just got 2 units. You just got a defensive unit, an attacking unit, and then there's nobody really trying to bridge the gap. You've got a deep line playmaker, but then again, he's not picking the ball up. He's not trying to drive forward. He's more looking just to pass it, expansive pass. And if there's no immediate option, again, it could be a turnover and you're just going to lose the ball.
Is the thinking with the halfback the idea that when the defensive line moves forward, the halfback can drop back to join in to make a 4? But the problem is those 2 wide centre-backs have already gone. So all he's doing is at best, he's dropping in to make a 2.
He's dropping to make a 2. Even if he's trying to make a 4, it's going to leave that 1 in midfield.
The back, is it? Yeah.
And he's still going to leave that 1 in midfield anyway.
So what would you do then in that situation? Because again, looking at right, there's a couple of problems here really with this. First of all, it's the 0708 database. Okay, so every player on this game is an absolute monster. Right? Okay, so it doesn't matter what formation you play.
I heard Mertesacker got like acceleration of 20,
70 goals every season. Right, you are conceding goals regardless of what formation you've got.
I think with this formation, you're at a stage where it's just score more than the opposition, right? I think that's the way you've got to approach it. Honestly, genuinely. So I would definitely change. See, I wouldn't even have a defensive unless it's an anchor man where he's literally just not moving. So I'll possibly have an anchor man here as so on the right side of his defensive midfield, he had a halfback dropping deep. I would possibly have an anchor man where it's very stationary. Obviously, a halfback will look to drop. I don't think I want to change the shape much.
No.
In this little area. So then his partner, even though I just said I won't change the shape much, as a Segundo Volante on support, even if you read it, he's still primarily a defensive-minded player. He's just going to obviously help you support that attack a little bit better. The wingers cannot be on attack, in my opinion. They need to support players. So basically, on attack, if you are defending deep, they are going to be an outlet. Mm-hmm. So they're not looking to trap back as often or as regularly as someone on support. They're just going to look to be, hey, my team's going to win the ball. I'm in a good position already to kind of exploit. I don't think your wingers need to trap back, obviously, because you've got no wingers.
Yeah.
So,
is there anything with the advanced midfield, the attacking midfielder on support, which is Kaka, by the way? One of the only players that's on support is Kaka, but he's partnered with, just in front of him is Klaas-Jan Huntelaar, DLF on support. Are they coming into the same position?
I think the way Football Manager would work it. Yeah, I think the way Football Manager would work it now, because of the positional play. So I think Football Manager stopped that sort of thing. Possibly why, again, certain roles are working better, because now what would happen is your attack midfielder in the middle would just shift to the left, and your DLF would drop down into the middle, and it will sort of make a 4-man attack midfield. But what I would say is the responsibilities. So your DLF and your attack midfielder on support are likely going to share the similar responsibilities in that they're creating. I would get...
Could you move Kaka back to a central midfielder on attack? Like in the middle of the park?
I was going to say advanced playmaker on attack. So at least he can drop deep still or move into different areas to help receive the ball. Then he can drive forward but also get further forward as well, as the improved AP does on the Football Manager. And then, I would have... It's very difficult, this formation. I wouldn't even use wide centre-backs. Honestly, on defend is pointless, because if you're trying to play this sort of total football, tiki-taka, whatever it is, possessional football, they cross from deep.
It's gegenpress as well, isn't it? So they're going to be out of position regardless.
Deep. I would just use just ball-playing defenders and just ask both the two wider ones to stay wider.
Would you have one on cover to maybe sort of like watch when balls go over the top?
Possibly the one in the middle. Because I think my way of thinking is just close gaps. So rather than dropping off in moments, you literally just got to push, because you don't have enough support to... If you're dropping back, I think the more you drop back in this formation towards your goal, the more trouble you're in.
Well, as well, that's interesting you say that, because he's got the transition play is distribute ball to the centre-backs. So... I mean, that's great. Where you play the ball straight out in front of you to the ball player. Your wide centre-backs have already split. So if you're being pressured, where's that ball-playing centre-back playing the ball?
See, even distribution, I'll just kick it long.
Yeah. And he's got a high line. He's got a high press. Everything's high tempo, heavy metal. Like, you're going to get caught.
Yeah, I don't think, and passing to space as well. Like, this stuff, like passing to space especially... So what? Your ball-playing defender is going to get the ball, and then it's going to encourage people just to keep running forward and just going moving into space, and then he's going to end up running out of options, rather than, again, the tactic seems like it's built to be sort of not heavy possession-based, but it seems like he is the better team and he can attack the opposition. So he's going to play possession-based, but at a high tempo. But at the same time, in this system, it feels like he can just lose the ball often. So again, I would make tweaks. I would remove passing to space, passing directness on shorter, with tempo slightly higher. Attacking width as well.
You kind of need to be narrow, don't you? Because you don't want your
defense
out of position, and then you've already lost your wingers at that point.
So this is the thing that I wanted to avoid, though. Is like I end up making so many changes. It's a complete different tactic. I've changed so much things. But these are the things that I will change, though, because I've mentioned it to someone else, and it's going to be in the next tactic, so I don't really want to speak about it too much until we get there. But the wingers, because he's got so many players in the middle, the wingers, if they're staying wide, it's unlikely he's going to have any sort of support. So he's going to be isolated. And again, if he runs even wider, he's just running away, and it's just going to create that a low quality chance if he just has to cross it. If he has to cross it into the box without thinking about it, it's just going to create a low quality chance. And you might end up having a game with like 30 shots, but you haven't really created that many
5 on
great
target.
chances. Yeah. Whereas if you had an inverted winger here now, he'll be drifted in this area. It will suit, complement the formation as well. It being narrow. But you're just going to have, obviously every tactic's going to have flaws. It's going to have its strengths and it's going to have flaws. And the flaw in this is just the wide play, the wide combinations. I would have to, with this sort of tactic, I would have to really think about it. Because now I'm thinking again, the wide combinations, possibly you're going to get a Roman playmaker over a Volante because now you want some drifting so he can drift out in the wider areas to then link up. So yeah, that one's a bit of a sticky one, but I would definitely address the midfield, the anchor, the halfback and DLP. Not a good combination for me. And then the 2 wider centre backs on the wider areas as well. It doesn't really make sense.
Register maybe could sort of work a bit better.
Yeah, I think a register would work better. A register would work better than a DLP, 100%, in my opinion, in this setup.
Okay, so Big B, get back in touch with us. Give us a bit more info on this one. Give us some context. Obviously, where are you in the league? What's the results looking like? Obviously, it's taken us a week to get back to you, but hopefully that's a bit of info. We'll post in the Discord to say that we've addressed it, so at least then tune in and let us know what's happened. Very quickly, while this is on, of course, as you can see, Tactics Garage is back open for business, which means if you want your tactic having a little MOT, a little once over by either TJ Tactics or, let's face it, RDF Tactics, come and join the Discord. The link is here. Join the Discord, look at the Tactics Garage thread, post all your screenshots in there, post the context, and if we pick it up, we can give it a bit of a spring clean, we can dust it off, we can get it working again, we can get that tactic singing. So come and join the Discord, come and hang out with us. There's loads of stuff happening in there. It'll be one of the best clicks you ever make. There's someone who did give us a lot of information, and we stopped recording last week's show, and I think you jumped straight into Discord, Arron, and there was already a message waiting. You're like, right, I need to address this right now.
Yeah.
So, Geeky Rabbit, you've already addressed it in Discord, but we're going to do a full MOT right now. So the screen is on. Okay, I'm aware of this. The screen is definitely on. Geeky Rabbit has sent us loads of screenshots, loads of detail as to what they have seen and what they want from the tactic. Now, do you want me to set it up, Arron, and then you to start talking about what you've seen? So if I read Geeky Rabbit's message to us, so it says, "Hello, Tactics Garage. Looking for some help and or advice. I'm currently doing a save with Rushall Olympic in the National League North." I'm very happy about that. Yes, I like to do things the hard way. Predicted to finish rock bottom. TJ Tactics has entered the chat, right? Okay. On first analysis before creating the tactic, the team only had a few positives and lots of negatives. Pros are we're good at set pieces. Love that at this level. Have good creativity and good flair. The negatives are that we are lacking in bravery, poor strength, poor acceleration, and a lack of good jumping and not good at retaining possession. So they're good at set plays, not good at football. I've played a few games of the season getting mixed results. Won 1 game, lost 3. If you expect to finish bottom, that's still pretty good, I think. Since we have poor jumping and tackling, I'm trying to prevent crosses coming into the box, and I've conceded most of my goals from inside the box, from crosses that have come into the area. Most have come from shots in the box after the crosses come in. Few goals I have scored have come from decent build-up play from crosses from the wings or the wingers coming inside and shooting. I'm not scoring near enough that I want to, and I need to avoid relegation. Can you give us some advice and help? Should say as well, I've got my attacking midfielders on the wings marking a position, either defence, right backs or left backs or wing backs, depending upon their formation. Now that is context.
That's a lot of context. Straight away, I would say be careful with the tight marking as well. I would possibly use one. I wouldn't have both. I would need one of my wingers to remain as an outlet rather than using both tracking back. If they're both pinned back, then again, you might think it's helping you defensively, but it might not help you in the game momentum.
Because if obviously if you do it in the situation, right? So you've got game sets up, opposition has fullback and let on left and right, the classic fullbacks. All it needs them to do is change one of those roles, inverted fullback. All of a sudden, your winger is now pulled inside.
Yeah, literally,
so any ball you're trying to play to your winger, he's now probably doubled up. He's got an inverted fullback already on him, and probably next to a defensive midfielder already on him. So he's been taken out the game.
Exactly, yeah.
Straight away. But you're pressing him, going, right, you are coming inside. Okay, that's an issue.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that's one of my first things. So in the Discord, I did leave a few notes, and actually on the screen right now, what you're seeing is basically my finished version of it. I then realized that he actually has a completed version of it himself. So I'll go through the original tactic. I would read it from the Discord. So it's a flat 4-3-3. So there's going to be some interesting notes here. It's a flat 4-3-3, a sweeper keeper on defend, 2 fullbacks on support, 2 no-nonsense centre-backs on support. Again, very interesting that we're going to talk about that. A double Carrilero, so he's using a few double roles here. A ball winner midfielder, double wingers on attack, and a DLF on attack as well. His team instructions are balanced mentality, fairly wide attacking width, slightly more direct passing. The tempo's on standard. He's focusing down both flanks, passing into space, playing for set pieces, working the ball into the box. I know some of this might sound a bit contradictory. Regroup, counter attack in transition, and then a mid block with a low defensive line. Trigger press more often, prevent the short goalkeeper distribution, stay on feet, and stop crosses. So there's actually quite a few instructions there. And then what I replied back is, I'm looking at my message because sometimes I write something, I'm like, what am I trying to say?
You have a read of that. The first thing that I think, while you get your head around what you've said or how your initial thoughts were, my initial thought there is that's a lot of information to take.
Yeah.
Like your players are being asked to do an awful lot, really.
Yeah.
At that low level, when the pressure is on you to just not lose every single week,
yeah,
you're being told to do so many different things, which, as you say, some of which would be contradictory.
Yeah, I think that's the bigger problem. Is for me, it's not so much that there is many instructions. It's more so there's many sort of contradictory ones where things like play for set pieces, but then also work the ball into the box can confuse the players a little bit. They wouldn't know whether to win the throw in, win the corner, or try and create that chance and work the ball into the box.
Especially if you're going down the wing as well. Like,
yeah,
I feel
because
like
he was using 2 wingers as well. So it's like the wingers would get down that byline and
crosses in. Yeah.
Get the crosses in, but then they're also supposed to play for the set piece. So that's what, it's a bit. So work the ball into the box and using wingers can work nice because then they can drive towards the byline for cutbacks. So it can work. That can work nice. But then again, he's got a DLF on attack, so he hasn't really got a focus for this. Yeah, he's got no real focus for this. And then he's got no runners from midfield as well, which I've only just noticed now. So, yeah, that's a great thing about the tactics garage.
That's one of the things that I've seen as well. And I mean, this is just a thing that I don't like double roles personally. It's a personal preference of mine.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea that you've got 11 players and half of the team are being told to do exactly the same as what the other half of the team is doing. Like, I almost feel like, and I can't remember if we touched upon it a few episodes ago, but if one side's not working and it's been found out and the other side's doing exactly the same thing, you know, what's your thing as a manager? Do you change both sides? You should really be changing one side.
For me, it's always, because foot manager is just so dynamic. So for me, I would be more careful of which roles I'm duplicating. So a fullback on support, I feel I get away with that because I can actually make them behave differently by using player instructions, the same as a central midfielder on attack or something. But it all depends. Because even though, again, I could be using 2 wingers, but my left-sided one likes to run down the left, but my right-sided one likes to cut inside. So again, player trait-wise, you might get a little bit different.
He's doing something a bit different.
Though, tactically, what you're expecting from the team, it's still sort of the same-ish, if that makes sense.
And again, if you get an injury and you replace that winger who comes inside with another winger who just stays, different tactic.
So I think when using double roles, I think you're now more reliant on the player to take control on over situations and take the initiative sort of thing. So if you're using a winger and you've got two wingers, you're banking on the one that cuts inside to cut inside on his left foot, and it's working in that sort of game. You're sort of banking on that.
Can I just shout out Zealand, by the way, at this point? Having watched his recent video of the 10 things that you might not still know about FM24. And apologies if people do know this. And I'm just like, oh, you can do this, can you? That's quite interesting. I didn't know that if on the role, so when you've got your player role, you know, you click the personalized role down the line, you only get like the little minimum. It brings up the chart that you can sort of change all your instructions. If you click on the personalized instruction of the actual role and it turns green, that changes the role completely. So every player that drops in that role will do the personalized bit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that. I never knew that. So I'm thinking, like, because I thought if I bring a player off, he's instantly going to be told to do the same thing. The substitution is not. He's going to be given different instructions. I was like,
yeah.
And then when I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense.
Yeah. So actually in Tromso, I was sort of playing with that. In Tromso, sort of, I had a tactic, but I was doing this thing where I was making sure that anyone that played in a certain position, I was like using player instructions. So that if my left back had bravery of 5 and aggression of 5, instantly stay on feet sort of thing. Whereas the other one might get stuck in because he can get stuck in sort of thing. Yeah. So I'm sort of playing with that sort of personalized thing. But even down to like dropping the ranking roles and stuff like that is like, it's very intriguing, though. It's one of those things that does take a lot of concentration for me as well, because I'm one of those guys that would do it, but then I would have to stop the game, go back into just to make sure everything's all selected and stuff right, and then go back into the game.
Talk to me about these double carrilleros.
The carrillero, So I think carrilleros for me are sort of like they're good roles if your flanks, 2 players on the flanks are fairly attacking and they can come out wide and sort of cover it. So that's sort of your box-to-box midfielder, but sideways.
Wide,
sort of thing. So they kind of go from their central,
rather than vertical,
so they kind of go from their central place to that wider place and sort of bounce back as well like that. So I don't mind it again, but you just because it's got double. I feel he's actually
like
losing
sweepers.
Yeah, I don't think like it's not a negative thing as such. Like he's using 2 carrilleros, but I think it's a bit negative, as in he's losing now a midfielder that can get further forward and join the attack, because he's got a ball-winning midfielder on the defend, he's got a carrillero on the right and a carrillero on the left, but one of these midfielders can get further forward, which is a change that I made with a box-to-box. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about, and I mentioned that the shape is interesting because he's got a flat 4-3-3. When using this sort of formation, and I think this is something that I find out with a 4-4-2 as well, and now why it's connecting with me a little bit more, is that I find play out from the defense is actually very important, because these central players need to drop to receive. Yes. If your tactical idea is actually these players to be pushed up and you should want the ball further forward, then fair play. But at the same time, I think that play out from the back will bridge this gap between the defensive unit and the midfield unit. It's all about, sometimes for me, it's just about linking your units, how you're going to move. How do you move from the building stages into the midfield stages, then into the creating stages, and then into the finishing stages? Like, how does that happen? And at the moment, just looking at this, he had 2 no-nonsense defenders at the back with 2 fullbacks on support. The no-nonsense defenders are going to play it safe. They've got no one to play it safe too, so the next step is just hoof the ball. But then at the top, he's got a deep line forward, getting further, dropping deeper to come and connect play. So it's just all a bit confusing. It can be confusing just looking at the tactic. So for me, again, the 2 centre-backs, I've changed it from a ball-playing defender and a central defender, and I'm also using a play-out from the defence instruction. So I do feel that it's important, or it can be important, if you're using no defensive midfielders, you've just got a back line, and then the next step is the midfield line. I feel play out from the defence is a brilliant tool to help bridge that gap and just connect it and help you move through the phases.
Yeah, it's something that I like to I like to play out from the back, to be honest. And I like with a 4-3-3. I do like having an anchor man at the base as well that gives. Yeah.
So I just wanted to say as well, like people might think like they got this idea as well that play out from the back. You're asking them to play like Manchester City when you're not really. It's sort of a tool that you're just using just to get players to drop deep, but also not to lose the ball. Like sometimes you're gonna have a lot of numbers. So he's got 4 defenders, and if he gets at least two midfielders to drop, that's sort of 6 players. So he's got decent enough numbers to retain the ball. They don't need to be the most technically gifted. And you're not asking them to be Barcelona. You don't have the players set up. You don't have inverted wing backs and all this sort of stuff. These fancy roles that are roaming from positions. You just got a standard formation set up, but you're just asking players to drop. And you're also asking your defenders to pass it a little bit shorter. Even though your team are instructed to play slightly more direct, just playing out from the back, you're just asking them to be a little bit shorter and not hit that direct ball so soon. Because then again, it's just causing turnovers.
It's a numbers game, isn't it? As you say, if you've got 6 at the back, that means you've only got 4 up front. Like, so you're already outnumbered. You know
exactly.
What I mean?
Like,
I like playing the ball out from the back. And again, something that is often overlooked, I find, is on the distribution part of your tactic. Whenever you put play out from the back, it automatically ticks give the ball to the centre backs. Okay, now what you can also do is give the ball to the fullbacks as well. So
that's what I've done in this tactic.
Just gives you options, so that and the goalkeeper will then pick the best option to go for, rather than always playing the centre back. Which, if you're up against a team that's going to press you, they're going to force the ball straight back towards the goalkeeper. But if you can play the ball out wide, it might allow you to start building up in a slightly different way. And
that's another thing as well. He did distribute the ball to the fullbacks and the centre backs, but then no play out from the back. So again, if your goalkeeper decides, okay, let's just play it short this time, gives it to your no nonsense in the back, what's he going to do? What's the next move from there?
Smash it forward, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I think as well, if you're distributing the ball to the wings, correct me if I'm wrong on this one, Arron, but I think that if I'm distributing the ball to the wings, I want wingers who are good in the air. I want wingers who are strong. I want wingers who are quick.
Yeah.
Because I want them to, because I'm guessing if the ball's gone out to the wings, it's not coming on the floor. It's in the air. So they've got to be able to challenge those fullbacks to get the ball. Otherwise, again, we're losing the ball.
Yeah. It's just, it is very interesting. And sometimes I do wonder, I just want to sit there, just see everyone's tactics and see what they're doing and what the process as well. Because I can because sometimes for me, there's not enough buttons or there's not enough instructions, but for other people, there's a lot sort of thing. So I know that some people, their process is that they've got the idea in possession, but then once that's set, they go in transition and then they click what they want here, but they haven't thought about what their first step was. They haven't thought about what they've done in possession. That's just in transition, like, this is what I want to do in transition, but they haven't thought about how that links with in possession and then out of possession as well, sort of thing. It's something that you've got to be careful with. And there's no one that's a complete pro. Like with me, sometimes to get that one tactic that you're seeing on a video, it's taking me about God knows how many versions to get to that final point. So it's not like something that just connects, like whatever. And even me, like me saying, this is what I would do, this is what I would do, even in Discord, and I always say it to people, test it and let me know how it's going.
And I think, like, again, we stream Football Manager.
Yeah.
Right? We get people in the stream offering suggestions on how to improve the tactic that's in front of us. Like I play on cautious mentality. That winds so many people up.
That would wind me up.
How do you play on cautious mentality or balance? Like my counter-attack system is cautious mentality. But if you look at there was one point we hadn't conceded a goal in 6 games. And I'm like, you can tell me to change it all you want, but it's working. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know what I want out of this tactic. I know how it's going to play.
Yeah.
I go to balance. I very rarely go to positive because I know I can get a positive, like, system and style of play by playing balanced. I know if I was to ramp it up, I don't have the players to ramp it up because I'm leaving myself exposed on how the tactic works. And
it can be a bit confusing sometimes to ramp it up as well because I always test tactics out first on balance. That's always the thing for me because I feel that's just the most neutral. Once you start playing with other mentalities, you start playing with players' mentalities and players' behaviors and the players' individual tempo, the players' individual passing things. So I just feel that balance at first is just neutral. and then then you can either work your way up or work your way down. But sometimes you just have your go-to.
Yeah.
I always start in balance. There was at a point where I just felt every tactic needs to be on positive. It just needs nothing higher, nothing lower. And then, until that sort of phase runs out and you're like, nah, I'm going back to balance. That was definitely more controlled.
My argument is always, if you're starting on positive or attacking, like, where'd you go after that? It's like a Spinal Tap, innit? Like, if you're on 10 all the way, where'd you go next? And then like, well, we go to 11. And you're like, it's one louder, innit? Like, just like, whereas if I'm on 4, then I can go to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We can ramp it up. And in my head, I think the opposition don't see that coming. Like, they don't see, oh shit, they're going through the gears. Like, and it takes more for the AI to adjust as I'm going, right. Like, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but that's how I think it works in my head.
Also, though, I do think that some people as well, just like on the Tactics Garage thing, is that when you are conceding the goals, maybe sometimes as well, just press the rewind button and just watch that actual whole build up sort of thing. So we mentioned this again with Dowgit. It's like some people just like, oh, I've got my game's broken, like always throw-ins, and it's like just rewind it a little bit and then have a look at why that team keeps attacking that side and why they keep getting thrown. I mean, there was one game like I was losing my head, I was effing and blinded like, mate, this is like the 6th throwing down this, literally the exact same area. I was like, the 6-1 now, come on. For me, that it got to a point like, okay, the game's giving me a message, like something's happening. Something's happening down here. There's a reason for it. So even like defensively, like you might think you're defensively bad, conceding goals. It might just be a defensive unit, but it might be your attacking unit. It could be something, do you know what I mean? So that's why I would say go back and watch. Like just press that little rewind button where like the little 10-second rewind and just go little 10 seconds back or 20 seconds back. Just have a quick look. And then you might notice some patterns, and that also will help you as well fix your tactic a little bit.
Absolutely. So just as a closing thought then on Geeky Rabbit, Arron.
Yeah.
We've made the tweaks, we've made the changes. Obviously, if you want to join the Discord, link is in the description below. You can come and see what we've done with it. But just as a kind of bit of a sort of review, Geeky Rabbit went and tried out your recommendations, and 3 games, 5 points, scored 3 and 3, and the tweaks have made the team more difficult to break down. Arron,
let's go.
You've got tactics in your surname for a reason, my man.
Yeah, some of the issues are a bit like they'll just jump out of you straight away. But sometimes it does just get someone to review your tactic. Like I'm pretty sure there's so many tactics that I have that I've given up on. But if I gave it to Dowgit or if I gave it to someone that view from the touchline, they'll probably see something and be like, I'm like, I would look at that first. And then that's sort of like,
isn't it?
Yeah, and then it's like, oh yeah, now it sort of makes sense. So even me talking about bridging the gap between the defense and midfield, the Geeky Rabbit might not even seen that sort of thing. And now like he's looking at it thinking, well, flip, now that's just it's right there in front of my face sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
sometimes
again,
it does just
that
get
will be
like, fresh eyes in it.
I mean, that might even be part of the Patreon, Arron. You never know. You know, should we do that? Should we do that as a Patreon thing? You know,
fresh eyes.
Save your saves.
Oh yeah.
Saves.
Oh man, that is so annoying. I've got like on my YouTube, I'm like, people send me your tactics, just fix your tactics. Just crickets. Just crickets. Crickets. Like everyone's like, yeah, great idea. Everyone's voting for it. All right, send me the saves now. Oh, what? I've got to do all of that.
All right, okay. There you go. Arron has loads of time on his hands. Patreons, do your thing. So yeah, Geeky Rabbit, thank you very much for bringing your tactic into the garage. A couple more questions before we close the show. I like this one. This is in my own Discord, actually. And it was from Numero Uno, who, oh, hey, we've all got our Discords, you know what I mean? Like, just because yours is part of your Patreon, right? This one is an interesting one. And it said, can you train an outfield player to be a goalkeeper? And I was like, I don't think you can, no. And their view was like, well, I've had a goalkeeper injury, no goalkeeper on the bench. After 10 minutes, won the game, think we should be able to have that position to retrain them. I was like, always have a goalkeeper on the bench. You're speaking to a man who had no goalkeepers in a cup final and grayed out goalkeepers in the most important matches of my season. Always have a backup goalkeeper, and especially on FM24, have four.
I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. Every time I've had a goalkeeper injury, I've had a goalkeeper on the bench, and I think that's the bad luck. I'm just going to keep going without the goalkeeper. I don't want to say it, but I've never had the situation. Touch wood. But I've never had but I've never had that situation. The only time in FM24 my goalkeeper gets injured is I've got a goalkeeper on the bench or it's in training. But what happens? What annoys me though?
In real life, clubs have goalkeepers on the bench, don't they? They don't just have like a whole bunch of strikers and be like,
but
when is putting the gloves on?
In FM, you build like your team for wonder kids. So it's like, do I have the goalkeeper, this 37-year-old backup, or should I shove that 17-year-old on the bench?
Scott Carson has entered the
building. I think that's what it is. I think that's what it boils down to for many people anyway.
Excellent. One final question then on YouTube. Chewy82 has said, hi guys, just watched the training guides on YouTube. So that's an episode from a little while ago. Go and check that one out if you've not seen it. One quick question. Does the individual role bits in the sessions train the additional focus? I know that Arron has said to use additional focus for players under 25. Just wanting to make sure I understand it correctly. And they will train the additional focus when they do individual role sessions. Arron, can you remember off the top of your head for that one?
I'm trying to understand the question a little bit. I think I get what he's asking. And so is he asking, so in those training schedules where it says that it's training the roles, is that when they learn the focus, the additional focus?
Yeah, I think you have to do that separately, don't you? Is that right?
I think so. The answer to his question would be yes. Does the individual bits in the sessions trained? Okay, yeah. So it does, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool. There you go. It does.
I was confused. I was trying to understand the question at first. It's a good question though, because I wasn't sure at first myself. That was a question that I asked myself actually. So like, if you go to attack, if I go to one of these things, there it is. Like, so it's got a secondary focus, it's got impacts, and it's got attributes, individual roles. And then my thing was, why doesn't it also say additional focus to let me know when it's actually training the additional focus? But yeah, they will be doing it in the individual roles as well.
Oh, awesome. Excellent. There we go. So there you go. We learn something new every single day. You sir. Arron, this has been good. I've enjoyed this. We've gone deep into tactics. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Obviously, as we say, if you have enjoyed it, whack a like on the YouTube video. Make sure you leave some comments below. Come and chuck your tactics at us if you haven't already done so. Via Arron, where can they send us their tactics?
They can send their tactics at the fmshowpod@gmail.com, or you can send it or post it in the Discord. You can even link it to our social media accounts as well at the FM Show Pod. That is at the FM Show Pod on your social media accounts.
Absolutely. And as we say, Discord is a cool place to hang out. Come and find us over there, chat away to us. And we've also started teasing some merch ideas. So give us some feedback on those, because if you like them, we'll get them made. That's been a good one. I've enjoyed that. I feel like I've learned something, Arron. That's how I think we should leave the show. Feeling like we've learned something. I definitely didn't feel like I learned anything after goal 3, but I feel like I've learned something tonight. So hope you've all enjoyed it. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We will see you all on next week's show.
Yes, sir.
All the best. Bye now.
Want to learn even more about Football Manager? Subscribe to the Patreon. Just visit patreon.com/thefmshowpod. Don't forget to rate and review, and follow along on the socials at the FM Show Pod.